Welcome back. Now, President Trump has 9 days to turn himself into a Georgia court. He is facing an arraignment on 13 charges brought by the Fulton County District Attorney. This indictment cites 12 of the former president's tweets, including a December 2020 post when he claimed he had enough votes to flip Georgia. There's a tweet from January of 2021 where he claimed then Vice President Pence can reject electors. And then there are 2 other tweets that show Trump telling his followers where they can watch hearings on the Georgia election. These are the quote-unquote pieces of evidence for Georgia indicting Trump. Joining me now is former FBI Assistant Director, Agent and Attorney Chris Swecker. Chris, great to have you. Your reaction to all of this?
Yeah, when we start indicting people for tweets, we're in big trouble. So if you look at this 98-page indictment, it is an incredibly grandiose stretch, in my opinion. I've worked with the RICO statutes, not necessarily the one in Georgia, but the federal ones. And the best way to lose this tool to fight organized crime is to abuse it. And I look at this as an abuse of the RICO statute. That's not what it's designed for. This is really an effort to eradicate Trump supporters in Fulton County and the state of Georgia. So you're going to need a bigger courtroom to fit all the defendants and lawyers in that courtroom, and it's going to be multi-year litigation. It's going to last forever.
Well, that's the point that I want to make, because you're saying multi-year litigation. That's what I was expecting. These are the kinds of cases that require lots of discovery, including deposition. Can you jam that in before the 2024 election?
I don't think you can. I mean, you take those 18 defendants and their lawyers and figure, at least a half a dozen motions for each one of them on different issues, all that have to be litigated, motions in limine, all kinds of constitutional issues here. This is going to be the forever litigation. I don't think there's any way they're going to fit this in before the election, although that is the prosecutor's intent, and that is what she would like to do. There's an ego-driven motive here as well. All these tin-horn prosecutors want to be the first one to get Trump criminally. And it's become, sort of a notch in your belt, if you will, a way to gain notoriety, both politically and as in these Democratic strongholds. So I just don't see this one getting any legs before the election.
Well, it's just extraordinary what we're watching happen in real time. The Fulton County Court is still trying to explain how a version of the Trump indictment leaked before it was actually executed. It was posted online while the grand jury was still meeting on Monday. And now they have answered. They say, oh, it was a mishap during a trial run. Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, given that this is probably the single most sensational indictment in that county, you would think they would take extra care. It's either incompetence or there's an agenda here. I don't know which one's worse. Probably the agenda. I don't have any inside information about it, but this is not how the justice system works.
No, it's not. And of course, we're watching 2 different applications of the law when you consider what's gone on with President Trump, with what's gone on with President Biden, and an investigation into Joe Biden by the House Oversight Committee. Now we understand Hunter Biden's longtime attorney, Chris Clark, withdrew from the federal tax case this week. Prosecutors are blaming Hunter's legal team for the broken-down plea agreement, claiming that it's inaccurate that prosecutors reneged on an agreement which would have given Hunter blanket immunity from other criminal probes, Chris. I mean, it's amazing to me that David Weiss is the one who came up with this idea that if he agrees that he did not pay taxes, then he can get immunity for anything else. It wasn't until the judge said, wait a minute, aren't you investigating him right now? And they said, yes, we're looking at whether or not he was a foreign agent. So how do you put immunity on everything? And this is the guy who's going to run this case, the special counsel, David Weiss, the one who came up with that idea to give him an immunity?
Yeah, I mean, this was by design. People think that Weiss, they're quick to point out that he was appointed under Trump as a U.S. attorney.
No, but he actually wasn't.
Really,
he was not appointed. And I spoke to President Trump about this, and he explained it to me. What happened was there were 2 senators from that state who are Democrats. And the 2 senators came up and said, OK, we want David Weiss. So then Trump appointed him, because there were 2 Democrat senators who were pushing for him. So Trump didn't just come up with an idea to appoint David Weiss. No. He took the guidance of these two senators who were both Democrats, and then that's why he put him in place. So Trump told me specifically, I did not appoint him. The senators wanted him, so I went along with what they said. This is what he said to me the other day.
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out. This is the way it works. The senators in a state recommend the U.S. attorneys.
Right.
Most of the time, the president will take that recommendation. It happens all across the country after every election, so you get a new slate of U.S. attorneys. But the point being that he grew up in that Biden machine in Delaware, and he knows what his role is. And in this case, one was to run out the clock if he could. Then they designed this poorly designed immunity agreement. That's a pure contract. I had a question. That was a question on the bar exam when I took it. The plea bargain is a contract, so they're going to litigate the contract now. Weiss tried to sneak that in there and get it past the court, and we're very lucky that this particular judge caught it. But it was designed basically to give Hunter Biden global immunity in the federal system, and they got caught red-handed. So now they're going to appoint him so-called special counsel. Well, now we have to look back at Merrick Garland, denying that he ever didn't give him independence.
That's right.
So, they were arguing for special counsel. He was arguing for special counsel quite a while back. What changed?
Yeah, what changed? Ted Cruz told me that this is the wrong special counsel. He joined me on Sunday Morning Futures. Here's the senator from Texas. Watch this. Your reaction to David Weiss being named as special counsel here?
Well, this appointment is camouflage and it's cover-up. I think it's disgraceful. Listen, David Weiss was the U.S. attorney handpicked to lead this investigation, who spent the last 5 years covering it up. David Weiss, who was personally selected by the two Democrat senators from Delaware, Tom Carper and Chris Coons. Not only that, David Weiss is the one that is subject to 2 whistleblower complaints from senior career IRS officials who came forward. They said they'd never seen an investigation like this in their entire time in law enforcement.
Chris, it raises the question about the FBI and what has taken place here. You've heard the whistleblowers. We know now that the FBI sat on the Biden laptop as President Trump was getting impeached, even though they knew that Hunter Biden had taken in millions from foreign adversaries, including China. What happened? You were a company man for a long time. Chris, what happened to the FBI?
Yeah, I think it started under Comey. I mean, what happened, or at least during my era, was agents like myself worked their way up from the street up to the executive level positions. Under Comey, they started parachuting in Department of Justice political appointees in some of the executive level positions in the FBI, and I think that you go fast forward into the next era, which is under Chris Wray, again another DOJ appointee. So politics has now entered the FBI, and I've compared notes with all my other, current and retired FBI agents, and that politics never entered the picture in my 24 years in the FBI, not once.
That's too bad.
And now it looks like every decision they make, they take these high-profile cases and opening political cases instead of going after organized crime, gangs, drugs, cartels, human trafficking. I'm not saying they're not doing that work, but they sure are expending a lot of resources on these political cases. It's
very disturbing, certainly disturbing indeed. Chris, thanks very much. Chris Swecker is joining us, and thanks for your courage to talk with me about this. Christopher Swecker. We'll be right back.